okay, and I'm very proud, and I want to expose, okay, how I'm proud of that provinces, Quebec.
You'd think that with their different jerseys, they'd be on opposing teams, but they're not. They're both conservatives, both from Quebec, and both fighting for their political lives. About the toughest job you could have in Quebec these days is to be an MP for the Federal Conservative Party. Federalism is a hard sell here. Vincent Della Noce and Jean-Marc Robitaille are finding that out, but in very different ways.
Sì, Andrea, per favore.
Della Noce's immigrant background has helped make him what he is, a dyed-in-the-wool federalist. But 87% of his riding is Quebecois.
I tell you, when Meech Lake failed, I usually have a sign here on this bridge, for example, to wish them Merry Christmas or Happy Easter or Happy Holidays. I thought I would never see my sign back because of the people were so angry, so agitated, so against federalism, against everybody. What are you doing?
The anger's subsided, but wherever he goes, he still gets an earful on Quebec and his federalist stand.
It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible.
You have to change.
We have to.
I'm a Tory. I've been elected a Tory. I'm a federalist. And I want to stay like that. And my job is now to convince them that I'm right and they're wrong. How are you? My honesty will cost votes. There's no doubt. My majority will fall, no doubt. But they say in democracy you only need one more than the other guy, so I'm going to be working on that vote.
Oui, c'est M. Robitaille.
You wouldn't know from the absence of federal symbols in Jean-Marc Robitaille's office that he's a member of Parliament. Like many Quebec conservatives, he was part of an experiment, sovereigntists working within the federal system to secure Quebec's future. His loyalties are to Quebec and to the Prime Minister who negotiated the Meech Lake Accord.
You have a full
The only federal symbol in his office is a full bowl of Canada pins, a good example of the mood of his riding.
Since last June last year, I think the pins are not very popular. The glass is full since that time, and you know the people are not very, when you propose you want some pins and directions and all, not yet.
Robitaille's in a tight spot, a federal MP pressured by a strongly nationalist riding to choose sides, theirs or Ottawa's.
Lots of people say enough is enough, okay? Now let's go with the Canada or separate, but take a decision.
It's not only constituents. Robitaille's looking over his shoulder at the Bloc Québécois, the federal party formed last year by former conservative Lucien Bouchard to fight for Quebec sovereignty. Some of his fellow Tories have already joined the Bloc. In his riding, the local press is after him to join the Bloc too. Publisher Pierre Vigneault has written a number of articles saying the people are telling Robitaille the message is clear.
They want him to switch to the Bloc Québécois. They want a voice from here to Ottawa and not from Ottawa to here.
Public appearances are rough going. He regularly walks into the lion's den. At this book launch, he rubs shoulders with provincial political figures, a Péquiste member of the House, some PQ organizers. Behind the laughter and handshakes is a thinly veiled scorn for Robitaille. The needling is polite but unrelenting. He's even taunted in public by the man who may run against him next time.
Bloc Québécois.
Do they make jokes about you being a federalist everywhere you go these days?
Oh, yes, yes.
Jean-Marc Robitaille and Vincent Della Noce, both with their backs to the wall, but reacting in very different ways. While Robitaille thinks about joining the Bloc Québécois, Della Noce is going on the attack.
Yeah, this is the new one, just come.
Della Noce wants to grab Quebecers by the pocketbook, starting with his latest pamphlet to constituents. It's full of reminders of how much money Ottawa spends in the riding.
You don't think Ottawa's getting enough credit then for what it's done for the area?
I think Ottawa didn't get any credit since the last 5 years I'm in politics.
He's so eager to raise Ottawa's profile, he even brings his own federal shovel to sod-turning events.
My provincial M&A used to do the opening without inviting us, and when we were there, they put the 2 hands on the shovel and 2 feet on the shovel. I didn't have a break to show that the federal gave something, so I decided to bring my own shovel in the future and get the full credit when we pay, especially when we pay finance 75% of the project. And it works.
Bonjour.
Phase 2 of the Della Noce offensive. He summons these people to his office, all recipients of federal money. A center for battered women, a youth group, a choir. He invites the media to watch. There's only one item on the agenda, how much money Ottawa gives them.
Si demain matin, vous n'avez plus d'argent, est-ce que vous allez être capable de survivre? Est-ce que vous avez vu à d'autres moyens?
One after another, people feel compelled to tell Della Noce how grateful they are.
Alors, c'est sûr que sans votre subvention, Monsieur Della Noce, on n'irait pas loin. Une couple d'années, ce serait fini, malheureusement.
Like the elected patron of the riding, Della Noce tells them that federal money has strings attached. Some don't like the conditions.
Il y a des gens qui ont des problèmes, que ce soit les femmes battues, que ce soit les gens psychiatrisés, les handicapés, puis à un moment donné qu'on vienne faire de la politique là-dessus, puis qu'on demande à des organismes qui ont déjà de la difficulté à subventionner, qu'on vienne jouer, là, dire, bon, qu'est-ce que je vais dire à Vincent, là? Que moi, je vais revirer fédéraliste, là, parce que j'ai peur de perdre 30 000, ou que je vais rester... Je ne sais pas, puis je veux savoir le but de cette réunion-là.
These young kids here don't believe in Canada. This is the only reason, but they believe in our money. It's like the Indians. They don't like our laws, they don't respect this, they don't respect the Constitution, but they want to have the money.
Jean-Marc Robitaille couldn't be more different. No hardball tactics for him. Like a man on a tightrope, he tries to balance his obligations to Quebec and to Ottawa. One thing's certain, he will never be a salesman for federalism.
I don't want to say that. I don't believe in the actual federal system. I want changement, the same thing, in the same way the people want here. Okay? I'm not different of the people who live in my constituency and the people who live in Quebec.
Robitaille is surrounded by sovereigntists. These friends and political supporters helped him win his seat. They backed him for a reason.
Being a Pickist, an independentist, I supported him for the reasons that we talked together, and he has the same kind of sentiment as I have.
Pressure from these people has made it hard for Robitaille to stay with the Conservatives. He tells them he wants to give Canada one last chance to keep Quebec. Marcel Charbonneau, who ran his last election campaign, will back Robitaille's decision to wait, for now.
There's still hope. When there won't be any more hope, I think that, I don't want to talk for him, but he won't have a choice.
Meaning he'll have to what?
Wait, see, and act. Wait, and jump the block if it doesn't work.
Robitaille may do just that. He's already come close. Twice last summer, he asked Lucien Bouchard, the leader of the bloc, for a meeting, saying he was ready to jump. In the end, he decided the timing wasn't right. But he may be dangerously close to missing the right moment. Lucien Bouchard is removing the welcome mat.
It will not be possible to live as a comfortable Tory MP for years and then at the last, in the last resort, to go to the Bloc Québécois to get re-elected. This will not happen.
Bouchard wants to recruit fresh faces. He no longer thinks disaffected Tories bring much to his party. In a recent column for a Montreal newspaper, he argues that the Tories have already lost their supporters in Quebec.
There is no possibility at all that Quebecers who worked for the Tory party the last times will do so in the next general election if there is an alternative in the election. If there is a Bloc Québécois member, sovereignist Bloc Québécois, going to Ottawa to achieve the sovereignty of Quebec and working only for the interests of Quebec, I can't conceive that it will be possible for any liberal or conservative candidates to be elected in the French riding.
The Conservatives' Quebec caucus. This is a fragile group with a very uncertain future. Many in this room are facing a difficult choice between Canada and Quebec. Even Benoit Bouchard, the man credited with stopping further defections to the bloc.
Of course, big decisions will be made here by Quebecers. There will be a time where we will have, if there's referendum, whichever side it will come, to make up our minds and to make a decision. But not with regard, absolutely.
There aren't many Quebec Conservatives like Vincent Della Noce, rock steady in their commitment to Canada. Most are like Jean-Marc Robitaille, with well-defined limits on how far they'll go to defend federalism.
What if there's a referendum in Quebec? Which side will you pick?
If we have a referendum in Quebec, it's because the negotiation will be failed. And if the government of Quebec decide to ask the question, the people, I will be on the side of the people. And I'm sure the side of the people will be yes in favor of the sovereignty.
And you'll work for that side?
Sure.
There are 56 Quebec Conservatives. They form Brian Mulroney's Quebec base. Many are like Robitaille, tied to their nationalist roots, and torn by the knowledge that turning their backs on Canada will virtually destroy their leaders' hopes of winning Quebec next time. For the Journal, I'm Denise Rudnicki.
That report was produced by Jean Menard. The Journal will be back in a moment with a note about a special program we'll be bringing you tomorrow night.